أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Let us open page 12 where it begins with أجزاء الجملة, parts or components of a sentence. In Arabic, we have three parts to any sentence. Any sentence in Arabic is comprised of these three parts. Ismun wa fi'lun wa harf. What is ism? Ism is a noun. Any type of noun. Could be a proper noun, could be a name, could be anything that is considered a noun. In Arabic we call that ism. Then we have fi'l. What's fi'l? Verb. Any type of verb in any tense is called fi'l. And then we have a preposition which is harf. The prepositions, the conjunctions like and, for, in, of, on, all of these are considered harf in the Arabic language. Harf. I'll write that on the board so we can also see the spelling. So we have ism and we have fi'l and we have harf. Ism is a noun, fi'l is a verb, harf is a preposition or a conjunction. These small words that you use in order to link two words. So any sentence in Arabic would be comprised of these three. There is really no other fourth in Arabic. In English, you have some other types of categories, such as an adjective, an adverb. In Arabic, really that all falls under the first category. It's an ism, an adjective that you would use to describe a word. For example, the word beautiful, the word big. These are all nouns in the Arabic language. They are called ism. So we have these three parts to any sentence. Now if you look at the examples in the beginning of the page, let's look at example 1. Example 1 says, رَكِبَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْحِصَانَ. رَكِبَ means he rode. It's the past tense of the word ride. Ibrahim is the proper noun here. So the ism in this sentence is what? Ibrahim. And what is the verb? The verb is rakiba. What about al-hisan?
It's an ism too.
What is it? It's also an ism, right? It's also a noun. It refers to an animal. Ibrahim is the name of a human being. Al-hisan means horse. It's an animal. So in this sentence we don't have a harf. We don't have a preposition here. We just have a verb and two nouns. Now that second noun, al-hisan, is the object. We will discuss that in later lessons. But for now, you see that this sentence starts with a verb and then has two other nouns. That's one example. Let's look at the second example. يُدَاعِبُ إِسْمَاعِيلُ الْقِطَّةِ. يُدَاعِبُ means to play with. And this is the present tense. This is on page 12 if you look at the example number 2. يُدَاعِبُ إِسْمَاعِيلُ الْقِطَّةِ. يُدَاعِبُ means to play with. So this is a what? It's a fi'l. Ismail is what? Ism, which is a noun. Al-qitta, which means a cat. What is that? It's also a ism. It's also a noun. Now if you go to number 6, يَسْطَعُ النُّورُ فِي الْحُجْرَةِ. What does يسطع mean? To radiate or to shine. النور is light. في الحجرة. الحجرة means room. So you have يسطع. What is يسطع? Is it a فعل, حرف, or اسم? It's a فعل. Because it indicates a verb, an action. You know, it's shining. It's radiating. And nur is what here? Light. Light, which is what? It's a ism. It's a noun. Fi, what's fi? It's a harf. Al-Hujrati is also a noun, which means a room. So a noun in Arabic can refer to a human being, can refer to an animal, can refer to a plant, can refer to any inanimate object, or it can refer to an idea or a thing. For example, سمعت النصيحة, number 5. سمعت is what? سمع is a verb that means that I listened. سمعت, I listened to النصيحة. What does النصيحة mean? Advice. So here the word advice is not an object, right? It's not a name for a human being or an animal or an object. It's an idea. So an-nasiha here is also ism. So you see in the Arabic language that a noun is very comprehensive. It includes all these categories. So we have ism, we have fi'l, and we have harf. Everything in the Arabic language, every word in every sentence must fall under one of these 3 categories. We don't have a 4th category. Every single word that you, for example, will point to in the Quran, it's either a ism, a fi'l, or a harf. So it's very simple. In English we have more categories, but in Arabic it's only these 3. And hence we mentioned in the first lesson that Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, when he was teaching Abu Aswad ad-Du'ali about the Arabic language, the Imam, the first thing he wrote was this: Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Know that speech is either a noun, it's either a verb, it's either a harf or preposition. So the Arabic language is based on these 3 categories.
In sentence number 4, the last word, وَشَعِيرًا, is that one word or it's wa and sha'ira?
Okay, so let's look at number 4. Ta'kulu, what does ta'kulu mean? It eats. Ashat, what's ashat? No, that's al-qitta.
Okay.
It's a sheep or a goat. Ta'kulu shatu fulan. You know what fool is, right? Some of you may have it for breakfast. What's fool? Beans. It's a type of beans that you have, for breakfast sometimes. So a sheep eats fool. Now ta'kulu, what part of the sentence is that? What part of speech? It's a verb, it's a fi'l. Ashat, it's a noun. Fulan, the beans, what is that? It's also an ism, a noun. What about washa'iran? Washa'iran is 2 words. Now, they're written next to each other as part of one word, but in reality they're 2 words. The waw means and what is the waw? It's a harf. And sha'ir is another noun. So in this sentence you have a verb, you have 3 nouns, and you have 1 harf, 1 preposition, or we call it conjunction. So these are just some very basic examples about the types of sentence. So if you go to the second to last paragraph, the author says, نَعُودُ لِلْجُمَلِ مَرَّةً ثَانِيَةً. We go back to these sentences or these examples. فَنَجِدُ أَنَّ كُلَّ كَلِمَةٍ مِنَ الْكَلِمَاتِ. We find that these words, رَكِبَ, to ride, يُدَاعِبُ, to play with, تَأْكُلُ, to eat, they are referring to an act that happened. And that's the meaning of a verb. Because the meaning of a verb indicates action. Something that occurred in time, whether in the past, in the present, or the future. That's the meaning of a verb. And then when you look at the other words, وعند تأمل الجمل الثلاث الأخيرة, in the last paragraph, نجد أن الكلمات في, which means in, وعلى, on, وهل, which is a type of preposition or harf that initiates a question. Now which one is it referring to? Number 8. Look at number 8. هل تحب السفر? Do you like traveling? تحب is what? Like. It's a فعل. السفر is what? It's a noun. What is هل? Do you? In Arabic it's a harf. It's a type of harf. So it's saying that when you look at these words, fi, ala, hal, if you say them independently, separately, they don't really make any sense. That's how you can find out whether this is a noun or a verb or a preposition, a harf. If the word contains a meaning that denotes action, something happened in time, it's a fi'l. If this word does not have any meaning on its own, it doesn't give you any meaning, but it requires a link, it's a harf. Because when you say on what? Makes no sense. When you say beautiful, when you say a man, it's not a complete sentence, but it makes some sense. There's a picture that's coming to your mind, right? When I say tree, you can visualize it, right? But when I say on, what do you visualize? On what? When I say in, hal, do you? There's not something concrete that you can really visualize. So what distinguishes a harf from a fi'l and from a noun is that a fi'l, you can visualize it. A noun, you can visualize it. But when it comes to a harf, you can't really visualize something concrete. It doesn't make sense on its own. So that's one way to distinguish between ism, fi'l, and a harf. Anything that denotes action, something happened in time, it's a fi'l. Anything that does not make sense on its own, you can't visualize it, it's what? It's a harf. Anything else is ism. Everything else in the Arabic language falls under the category of being a noun.
So can we say that harf is a dependent word in this sentence?
It's a word, it's a separate word, but you can never use it independently.
So it is dependent.
It is always dependent on a noun or a verb. Absolutely. It needs a link. It cannot stand on its own. So these are just the parts of speech, and this is, something very basic. Now if you go to the next page, Al-Qa'ida, which is to summarize this rule or this law, it says Al-Kalimatu, the word, ثلاثة أنواع, is of 3 types. You have 3 types of words, اسم وفعل وحرف. And then it describes what they are. فالاسم كل لفظ يسمى به إنسان أو حيوان. It's a lafz, it's a word that you use to name a human being, insan. حيوان, an animal. Nabat, what's nabat?
Vegetable.
Something that is in a vegetative state, like a plant. What's jamad? Anyone knows what jamad is?
Stones? I don't know.
Stones are a type of jamad. But what does jamad mean?
Non-living?
Frozen.
Solid, frozen, inanimate object. An object that has no life, we call it what in Arabic? Jamad. Anything that has no life in it is jamad. What's that?
Abiotic or biotic.
Abiotic? Yes, something that's abiotic. Has no life, it's called jamad. And then what do we have? أو أي شيء آخر, an idea. Anything. Like for example, nasiha, as we said in example number 5. Nasiha is advice. You don't really call advice jamad. It's not really a physical object. It's just an idea. It's just a thing. So anything that you use to refer to a human being, an animal, a plant, an object, this is called ism, which is a noun. Number 2, ba. والفعل, what is a verb? كل لفظ, any word. يدل على حصول عمل في زمن خاص. Any word that indicates an action happened at a set time. يدل means indicate. على حصول عمل, on the occurrence of an action في زمن خاص, in a set time. Was it in the past, in the present, or in the future? So this is what fi'l means. And then the third category we have al-harf. كل لفظ, it's every word. لا يظهر معناه كاملا, its meaning does not fully become apparent to you. لا يظهر means does not become apparent. معناه means its meaning. كاملا means fully. إلا مع غيره, unless it's with another word, such as on, in, of. They can't stand on their own. You need to use them with another word for you to visualize them and to make any sense of them. So this is this lesson. Let's look at some of the practices. Practice number 1. Let's look at number 1. Can someone read this for us? If you read Arabic, if you can read this for us. The first one, in practice number 1 on page 13. فريد يجري في الشارع. So what's Farid? Ism. It's a proper noun. يجري, what is that? To walk or to walk fast. Running, to run. You know, like running water. Al-ma' al-jari is like water that's running. يجري في الشارع. So where's the ism here? Can you identify the ism? Shari' and Farid. Where's the verb? Yajri. Where's the preposition? Fi. Let's look at number 3. يحترق الحطب. What does يحترق mean? To burn. What does حطب mean? Wood or coal. Firewood. So where is the verb here? And where is the ism? Al-Hatab. And there is no preposition in this sentence. And you just have a verb and a noun. Let's look at number 10. يسبح الأولاد في البحر. What does يسبح mean?
Swimming.
To swim. Al-Awlad, the kids, the children. في البحر,
Ocean.
in the ocean. So where is the verb? And where are the two nouns? And where's the preposition? Fi. So this is a very simple practice that we can see here. Now, if you go to the following page, page 14, practices number 3, 4, and 5. It's asking you to bring 5 sentences which starts with a noun that is referring to a human being, a proper noun. So can someone give us such a sentence that starts with a proper noun? A short sentence. Rasulun Kareem. Is that a complete sentence? A generous? Okay, you would have to say Ar-Rasulu Kareem. The Prophet. Because by saying Rasulun, it means a prophet.
Okay.
So, Ar-Rasulu Kareem. The Prophet is generous or lofty in status. So that starts with an ism. What's that?
It doesn't have a feel in it.
It doesn't have a feel in it?
Feel. The word feel.
Oh, it doesn't have a verb in it, yes. We're going to talk in the next chapter about sentences that have no verb. This is asking you just bring a sentence with a proper noun. So what you mentioned, yes, it fulfills that. And there is no verb in it. Remember, in Arabic we said you don't have to have a verb. We'll discuss that shortly. The fourth practice, bring a sentence that starts with a fi'l, with a verb. Can someone give us a sentence that starts with a verb? قتل زيد عليا. Let's say قتل علي زيدا. That's better. Let's not kill Ali here. قتل زيد عليا. قتل means what? Killed. And it's in the past tense, killed. علي زيدا. Ali killed Zayd. So that is a sentence that starts with what? With a verb. And then in the following practices, it gets a little bit more complex. It's asking you to bring a sentence that has, for example, at least 2 nouns or more, and then a combination. Yes, it's saying, "Iti بخمس جمل," bring 5 sentences. كل واحد منها, every one of those sentences, مركب, it's composed of اسمين, only 2. And then the second one says, اسم وفعل, 1 noun and 1 verb. Now the first one, only bring a sentence that has 2 nouns. Can you think of a sentence that has only 2 nouns? It's the one that you mentioned. الرسول كريم. Or like we mentioned in the first lesson, what was the first example that we gave? The complete sentence. For example, الشجرة جميلة. The tree is beautiful. الشجرة جميلة has no verb. It's just 2 nouns. الشجرة is a noun, اسم. جميلة is a noun, and it's a ism. So these are just, some practices here.
So descriptions are also isms.
Descriptions in Arabic, which are called sifat, are also isms, yes.
So that's like an idea, is what you're saying. Like, you're saying that the ism can also be an idea.
Yes, it could be an idea, it could be an object, it could be a description, yes. In Arabic language, these are all isms. Now, obviously, not all isms have the same rules. Inshallah, we'll discuss that. Every type of ism will have different rules. But at the end of the day, it's a ism. Now let's go to the following lesson on page 16. تقسيم الفعل باعتبار زمنه. Let's now briefly examine the verbs. In Arabic, how many types of verbs do we have? First, let's start in English. In English, how many types of verbs do we have?
3.
Okay, what's the first one? We have the past. Then what do we have? Present. Future.
And then we have infinitive.
What else do we have? Do we have another type of verb or no?
Past participle.
What's that?
The past participle or something like that?
Well, it's still a past tense verb. Yes, past participle still falls under this category. There's another one.
It's a category of like is.
Amor.
Well, is could be past, present, or future. If it's past, it was. Present is, future will be, right? What did you say?
Amor.
Command.
Imperative.
Imperative. In Arabic,
Part of imperative, isn't it a part of present tense, like do this or don't do that? So it comes out
Right.
present tense.
In English, you have these 3, right? And the imperative usually would be a present tense, right? Get up, for example. Speak. Come. Go. Right? In Arabic, the command, the imperative, is in its own category. So we have a command. So past is what? Madi. Present is what? Mudari'. Future is what? It's also mudari'. We call them the same. They fall under the same category. And then command is amr. So in English you have 3. The command is part of the present. In Arabic you have 3. The future is part of the present. So in both languages you have 3 types of verbs. But the difference is that the Arabic considers the command to be a type of verb. In English, we consider the command to be part of the present, but in English, we have the future.
Can you say all of that again? Yeah, I got we got lost. So past is madi.
So past is madi. Both English and Arabic are the same here. We have a past tense. For example, rakiba, he rode. Past is madi. The present, he is riding or he rides. We call this present, in Arabic it's called mudari'. In the Arabic language, we call a present tense verb mudari'. Is that clear? What about the future? He will ride. In Arabic, it's still mudari'. The same exact verb. From the context of the sentence, you come to realize it's referring to the future. Or there are some letters that you can connect to the word, like sayarkabu, which gives it the indication that it will be the future. But in Arabic, the present and the future, they're identical. The same form, the same verb. So both is mudari', the present and the future. Now in Arabic, you have a type of verb that falls in its own category that you don't have in English. The imperative, which is a command, amr. Irkab. Qum, get up. Ijlis, sit down. These are all imperatives, commands. In Arabic, these are separate types of verbs. And they have their own rules and their own punctuation. So these are the types of verbs that we have. Now, in this lesson on page 16, we talk about al-fi'l al-madi, the past tense verb. Now, when it comes to the past tense verb, the past tense verb is a little bit tricky when it comes to the punctuation. Can I erase this? So we can write the types of past tense verb. In Arabic, the most basic form of the past tense verb is fa'ala. It's fa'ala. Whenever you see a verb that follows this form, fa'ala, these are vowels, automatically you know this is a past tense word. It's a past tense verb. Akala. What else? Give us some other words. Shariba. That one is a little bit different. Qatala. Kataba. To write. Rakiba. That one's a little bit different. We'll get to that. So pretty much any verb that follows this form, fa'ala, fa'ila, fa'ula. Now the vowels can be different. You can immediately identify it as a past tense verb. So even if you don't know the meaning of that word, at least you know it's referring to a verb that happened in the past. So this is fa'ala. And the example, for example, would be qatala. Which means to kill. Now when you look at the past tense verb over here, we also have a past tense that follows this. Fa'ila. At the second letter, the ayn of the word as they call it, this second letter, the middle letter, you see that you have a kasra. The vowel is beneath the letter. Fa'ila. That one was fa'ala. This one is fa'ila. It's also a past tense verb. It has the same meaning, that something happened in the past. But some words will follow this form. Can someone give me an example of such a word that follows this form?
Rakiba.
Rakiba. rakiba, alima, shariba. See, all of them is rakiba, alima, shariba. They follow that form. But it's still a past tense verb. Do we have more, or this is it? Can someone suggest any different form for the past tense verb? We have one more. Can you guess? So these two stay the same. The middle letter would change. Fa'ula. You have a dhamma here, which is like, a small o. Fa'ula is also a past tense verb that means something happened in the past. Some words in the Arabic language will follow this form. Can someone give us an example of fa'ula? When you deal with words that deal with distance, they usually follow that form. Ba'uda, exactly. What does ba'uda mean, brother?
To get further.
When something becomes further. Qaruba, something that becomes nearer, for instance. So this is still the same meaning. The point is, whenever you see a word that is in this form, fa'ala, fa'ila, or fa'ula, it doesn't matter. It means it's a past tense verb. That's how you can identify it as a past tense verb. Now, is there a rule to this? No. This is something you have to know. I can't tell you that these types of words will follow that form or this form or that form. It's something, through what you hear. So
could we say that the last thing that you mentioned for the last set of the words that they are used to relate distances, is that a kind of rule that we can apply to?
That would not be an accurate rule, though.
Okay.
I could not tell you that anything that has to do with distance will follow that form. Some words do follow that form, but really there is no rule that will identify these.
By heart then.
Yes, you have to know these, through practice and by heart. Like shariba. Why is shariba with the kasra? Alima, shariba, rakiba. Why? These are just, the ways of the Arabs. That's how they used to speak. So this is all al-fi'l al-madi. So the examples that the author gives us, jaral kalbu. The dog was running, or the dog ran. Waqafa ar-rajulu. Ar-rajul means the man. Waqafa means he stood. He stood up. Dha'a al-kitabu. Now let's look at the word dha'a. Without going too deep into this, later we can discuss this. But let's look at the word dha'a. We said that every word goes into one of these forms. But dha'a seems to be a little bit different, right? It's not like qatala, rakiba, ba'uda. It's dha'a. What do you have here in the middle? What kind of a letter?
Long vowel.
Alif, which is what? A vowel. Alif is a vowel. Now what's interesting about this vowel in the Arabic language, and this could get sometimes a little bit confusing, is that this alif was actually a different vowel. This alif was either a ya or waw, which changed into an alif. So in reality, this was dhaya'a. What was it before?
The root word of that is ya'a.
Dhaya'a. Originally, according to Arabic rules, it was dhaya'a. But because dhaya'a is kind of heavy on the tongue, dhaya'a, so the Arabs would just say dha'a. Now what does the word dha'a mean, by the way? Lost. It got lost. So when you look at ضيع, it's, it follows the same pattern. فعل ضيع, right? It's following which form here? Form number 1. Let's number them so we can refer to them. 1, 2, 3. So you see that form number 1? The word ضاع could throw you off initially when you look at it. You're like, okay, I'm not sure which one is it. Because the alif is a vowel, right? And it's hard really to put a vowel on a vowel. So do you say, ضاع? You can't say it in these forms. With the word قتل you can. قتل, ركب, بعد. You could put the vowels on them. But when it comes to the word ضاع, because you have a vowel there, and that vowel really you can't add more vowels to it, it becomes complicated. This is an indication that originally the word was different. It was ضيع, but then we changed it to ضاع. That's why ضيع, what's the present tense of the word? Does anyone know? يضيع, not يضاع, right? In the present, because it's easy to say يضيع, we got rid of the alif and went back to its original form. This is just to give you a brief idea. I don't want to confuse you now. In the future we will discuss this in greater depth. But just so you know that all these past tense verbs, they follow one of these 3 forms. Even this one is actually following form number 1. But because originally it was a ya, then it was flipped to a alif just to make it easier to say. Then it kind of throws you off. But it's following that form. Another word that you're all familiar with. What is the past tense of the word he said? Said. قال. قال. Which form is it following? Is it فعل, فعل, or فعل? The first one. How do you know it's the first one? You have to know the original word, because this is alif. This alif was another vowel. It's either a ya or a waw. What was it?
Wow.
It was a waw. So in reality it was qawala. Qawala. But qawala is heavy on the tongue, right? Qawala zaydun, qawala. It's kind of heavy. Qala is easy. You see the Arabs, even when it came to phonetics and how you would pronounce a word, they would choose something that's easy, if they could. Now, qala is a very popular word. You keep saying it. Qala Zaydun, qala Amrun, qala Allahu fi kitabihi al-kareem. Now, qawala is hard to say. So they just said qala. Now, qawala follows that form number 1. Fa'ala qawala. That's why the noun of qala, the noun. What is the noun? Qawl. Right? إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلٌ كَرِيمٌ. When you go to the noun, you go back to the original vowel, which was waw. But in the past tense, to make it easy, they just flipped it an alif. So this could get a little bit confusing, but just to give you a heads up about how the Arabic language works. So we'll take this step by step. So we have فَعَلَ, فَعِلَ, فَعُلَ. These are past tense verbs. So ضاع الكتاب means the book got lost. دقت الساعة. This is an interesting example. Let's take a look at this example. دقت الساعة. Let's put the vowels. دقت الساعة. Now what is the meaning of this sentence? The clock ticks, or it ticked, right? دقت, is that past or present? It's past. So the clock ticked. Now let's kind of dissect this to get an idea of it. Let's look at the word دقت here.
In the book it has a kasra on the not a sukun.
Oh, did I put a sukoon? You're right. It's دقت الساعة. دقت الساعة. So let's look at the word دقت. Now if you stop, you would put a sukoon. But if you continue, you would put a kasra. دقت, which form is it following of these three? Because it's a past tense verb, so it has to follow form 1, فعل, form 2, فعل, or form 3, فعل.
Form one.
You have to kind of dissect it. Now the ta, is that part of the word or this is added?
It's added.
How do you know?
So,
What it's added to indicate what?
To indicate the
Femininity. Sa'a in Arabic is a feminine word, right? How do you know it's a feminine word? The ta. The ta marbuta. This ta marbuta is a good indication that this is a feminine word, right? So in order to indicate in the verb that you're talking about a feminine subject, you put the ta, the long ta. The short ta, we call it the ta al-marbuta, attaches to nouns. And the long ta usually attaches to what? Verbs. That's one distinction for you to know, is this a verb or a noun? If you've got the long ta, that's usually an indication of two things. That you're talking about a feminine subject in the Arabic language. When I say feminine, I don't mean female. Because remember, in the Arabic language, everything is classified into masculine or feminine. The sun is feminine. The moon is masculine. Sa'a, clock, is what? Feminine. So the ta indicates a few things. Number one, it indicates that the subject you're talking about, the noun that you're talking about, is a feminine. Number two, it's indicating that it's attached to a what? A verb, not a noun. Because if you attach the ta to a noun, it would look like this. It's the small ta. It's the ta marbuta. We'll discuss that in the future. This is just to give you a brief idea now. Now let's look at the word daqqat. You already know that the ta is what? Is it part of the original word or it's added? It's added. So let's cross the ta. What do you have? If you cross the ta, what do you have? You have duck, right?
and another part.
But if I leave it at that, how many letters is this? Two. Do we have such a verb that you have only 2 letters? We said the forms are either this, this, or this. Fa'ala, how many letters?
3.
Fa'ila, fa'ula. So do you have a form that has only 2 letters? So what's going on with this word here?
There are 2 cows because of
Daqqa. You have how many qafs here? You have 2 qafs. So in reality, this word is daqqa. Daqqa. But in Arabic, we have what's called the shadda. When 2 letters come right after the other, in certain cases, you combine them into 1 letter and you put the shadda. So you get the word daqqa. Daqqa, you put the shadda. That indicates that you've merged 2 letters. 2 letters that are the same, you've merged them. So now daqqa, which form is it following when you break it down? It's following the first form. Fa'ala daqqaqa. Daqqa. Right? So daqqat as-sa'a, daqqat is just a past tense verb. It looks a little bit complicated, but in reality it's very simple. The ta is just indicating that you're dealing with a feminine subject. And as for the shadda, it's indicating there's an extra qaf here. So this is the 4th example. Can we read the 5th example? Can someone read it for us? جاءت البنت. What does that mean? The girl came. Let's look at this one. Let's write it in red so we separate it from that. جاءت. This one's a little bit tricky, right? Now this ta here, automatically you know what from this ta?
That's a verb.
It's an
That,
Feminine.
it's referring to what kind of,
Feminine.
it's referring to a feminine subject, right? But we said, see, daqqat, ja'at. You see the big ta? So just like daqqat, we have ja'at here. So you already know that this ta is not part of the word, right? It's just indicating a feminine subject. It was added, right? So we could cross it and just look ja'a. How many letters is ja'a?
Three.
It's 3 letters, right? Jim, alif, hamza. Now ja'a is kind of like which one? Like dha'a, qala. You want to know which form is it following. Is it fa'ala, fa'ila, fa'ula? But you already know that ja'a is one of these 3 forms. Even if you don't know exactly which form, that's fine. As long as you know it's a past tense verb, that's okay. Once you want to analyze it deeper, then you would look at the original word. What do you think the origin of this was? Because alif is a vowel. Whenever we have an alif here, usually this is an indication that there was another letter here that followed that form, which you can see the vowel movements on it.
Yeah.
It was a ya. So it was ja, ya, a. Jaya'a. Is that easy to say, or is kind of heavy on the tongue? Jaya'a. Compare it to ja'a. Which one's easier? Ja'a is easier. So that's why the Arabs, in reality, this was jaya'a, but what did they do with it? They made it into ja'a. So jaya'a follows which form?
First one.
Follows the first one, right? Fa'ala, jaya'a. Do you see that? Is this complicated? Or you get the idea here? So all you need to know for now is that we have 3 forms, and whenever a verb is pretty much following one of these forms, then you know that it's a past tense verb. So daqqat as-sa'a, ja'at al-bintu, badat ad-dajaja. What does badat ad-dajaja mean? The chicken laid an egg. Now bada, it's like ja'a, right? Which form is it following? You have to figure out what was the original letter. Before the alif, what was the original letter? How do you know it's ya? For you to know what letter it is, look at the noun. What do you call an egg in Arabic? Bayth, right? Bayth, which vowel does it have in the middle? The ya. So you know that bada was originally bayadha. But bayadha is kind of hard to say. It's like heavy on the tongue, right? Bayadha. Whenever you had a word like bayadha, jaya'a, the Arabs would just put an alif, badha, ja'a, qala, right? Just to make it easier. So badha is really following this form, fa'ala. You just have to discover what the origin of it was. Bayadha, fa'ala, it's following form number 1. Yes.
Statement number 1, is it the root word? Is it jaraya or jara'a?
Okay, it's jaraya. Jara is also fa'ala. It's following this form. Because in reality it's jaraya. It was a ya, but then for the sake of making it, light on the tongue, simple, we said jara. Because jaraya is a little bit difficult. Especially when you're an Arabic speaker and you're talking fast, jaraya kind of, bogs you down. Jara is just so much easier. So jara, that ya that you see is really just an alif. It's called alif maqsura, a short alif. In the future we'll talk about the short alif and the rules of the short alif. So for now, we have the past tense of a verb, al-fi'l al-madi. And the most basic form is fa'ala, fa'ula, and fa'ila, these 3. Now you have more forms, by the way. You have tafa'ala, fa'ala, These are a little bit complicated. Maybe we'll discuss them in the future. But for now, let's just stick with the basic form. So shariba, alima, rakiba are following form number 2. Ba'uda, qaruba is following form number 3. And most other verbs, they follow form number 1. So whenever you see this form, brothers and sisters, automatically know it's a past tense verb. It's a verb that's talking about the past. And if there's a ta attached to it, automatically know that you're talking about a feminine subject. Any questions about this? Is this complicated or it's clear? Any concerns about it? This will be clearer, inshallah, in the future. Right now, we're just briefly describing what the verbs are. In the next lesson, we'll look at briefly the present tense verb and the imperative, the command. And then, inshallah, we'll go, step by step in dissecting the sentences. But knowing this is really helpful. When you look at the Quran, at a hadith, at an Arabic sentence, whenever you see one of these forms, then you know you're talking about a past tense. Surah Al-Qamar, can someone tell us what does it start with? Someone read us the first verse of Surah Al-Qamar. Yes, you got it. Can you read it for us? You don't have the Quran on your smartphones? اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر. اقتربت. Let's say you don't know what اقتربت means. Once you know these forms, you have an idea. اقترب. It's a past tense of the verb, but it's افتعل. It's not like these simple forms. It's a more advanced form that we will discuss inshallah. But افتعل, it's very similar to فعل, right? اقترب, it's very similar to قرب. So you automatically know that it's a type of past tense verb. So this is about the past tense verb. Inshallah, we'll continue next week by examining the present tense, the mudari', and also fi'l al-amr, the imperative or the command, and then we will continue in the following chapters. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد.